how do you think this is going in terms of the contest so far?
Well, I think what we're seeing is a back and forth. One will come out with one policy issue and the other will try to counter that with their own sort of thing. I think Liz is winning on the tax debate, so now Rishi's turning to the cultural issues as a way of trying to squeeze some more votes from the areas that maybe wouldn't generally support him from the membership. So I think what we're seeing is lots of tossing and turning. Both candidates are kind of backtracking on things that they've done in their time as ministers. And they're having a hard time of trying to find enough countermeasures to make them popular.
You say that Rishi Sunak is now tackling cultural issues. You can see there that exclusive interview with GBNews where he's talking about grooming gangs, saying they're not spoken about often enough. He thinks because of political correctness. What's your reaction to that?
Well, I think he's right, but I don't know if his coming out with this now is necessarily the most authentic way of going about things. I think he probably could have come out with something in his time when he already had a measure of power over the last few years to discuss this kind of issue. And this is always the problem I find, is that when it's time to be leader, promises are made, and when it's time to actually do a job, promises generally aren't kept. So what we need to see now is some measure of accountability. If Rishi's genuinely going to put that plan in place, where's his advisory team ahead of time? You know, where are the measures that are going to be taken to actually implement something like that? I think with someone like Liz, she's got an issue on her hands because she's trying to put a moratorium on the green levies. She was the one who introduced them, but at least she is sort of saying something that's actionable policy instead of a sweeping statement, which is what I think Rishi tends to do more of.
And do you think Conservative Party members want to hear about the tackling of grooming gangs? Is that something that's going to win votes at this stage? Sure,
absolutely. But I think the two primary most important things are tax and immigration. So I think that's what the voter base is going to be looking at. And I think in the tax regard, Liz, her most quotable moment for me was saying that you can't tax your way out of inflation. And I think that's something Rishi just hasn't grasped yet. So I think that's going to do her a lot of good in that respect. I think in terms of immigration, they've got similar sort of approaches, but Liz has taken a harder line, saying we're going to go against the European Convention on Human Rights if we have to. There's quite strong talk, and that's going to connect more with the grassroots of the party, who may be supporting Kemi or Suella to start with. They both wanted to take us out of the ECHR or do something to tackle that. So I think Liz will be winning over that sort of more traditional side of the party, and Rishi's sort of winning over the Remainer side of the party.
Which is interesting, because that's... Look, also, he's made this comment, which has been leaked, about funding for certain areas. Let's just have a look at the clip.
To start changing the funding formulas to make sure that areas like this are getting the funding that they deserve. Because we inherited a bunch of formulas from the Labour Party that shoved all the funding into deprived urban areas. Then that needed to be undone. I started the work of undoing that.
Now, that's controversial, isn't it? And you can understand the audience he's talking to, and there is sections of the country that think we aren't getting the help we need because it's all being prioritised somewhere else.
Sure.
So I can understand the argument he's making. Let's be balanced about it. But it's about optics. It's about saying Labour shoved this money somewhere and I'm reversing it. Now, that does not look good.
No, it doesn't. And also that's coming out the mouth of a man who wanted to talk about levelling up most of the time that he was on stage over the last couple of years. So if you're going to talk about levelling up, but secretly you're taking away money from the communities that you're trying to level up, well, it doesn't really matter where that money's going. That's not going to win you votes, is it? And I think the broader picture is that we're going ahead into 2024, and the Tory party has to think, well, do they want to stay in power at this point? Who are they trying to connect with? I don't think Rishi is going to connect with the Red Wall. I don't think he's going to give them anything that is really going to be putting bread on their tables. I think Liz has proven that she's willing to try and cut tax in areas that's going to help the self-employed, that's going to help small businesses, that's going to boost growth from the grassroots up. And I think Rishi is just failing to show empathy at this stage. And that is very key when it comes to the broader picture of a national election.
Almost 5 million views on that video, that clip that we just showed you. Some critics saying that this is now the end of Rishi Sunak's campaign. He can't come back from this. Do you think that could be the case?
I've said all the way through, I just don't think he's going to have enough public support for him to be the right leader for the country. I don't think he connects with the right areas of the public, and hopefully the party can see that if they want to win in 2024, he's just not going to be the man for the job. It's almost more Blairite kind of talk that's coming. It's very polished, it's very slick, but it just doesn't connect with real people. You know, I don't think he's looking at how his tax policies have affected people. You know, this is the guy who is trying to encourage the Bank of England to buy off government debt just so that they could continue funding lockdown spending. And that kind of stuff, that's in the last 2 years. You can't get rid of it that quickly. Yeah.